The top story this evening, political parties want Parliament to fill the vacancies on the SABC board swiftly. Well, 4 board members this week, bringing the total of vacancies of the 12 non-executive board members to 8. The DA said in a statement that the interim board was set up to steer the public broadcaster to calmer waters. But the party says it also noted that they were implicated in an SIU report. The DA says the latest vacancies must be filled along with others whose application deadline is the 21st of December. Other political parties say that the resignations are unfortunate and worrying.
The minister will write to the president who will then inform Parliament that there are vacancies. Then Parliament will have to engage in the process of getting people to apply so that they can be appointed to these vacancies that have arisen.
We say the minister must take full responsibility of the SABC that will be going into the future without a board. The CEO obviously has to account. So without the board, who is she going to account to? Because it cannot be directly to the minister. The SABC should have a board, and Parliament must ensure that we elect a new board.
Anybody who is going to take on the SABC will need a guarantee. The problems in relation to workers and the retrenchments have to do with the fact that the SABC doesn't have money. And therefore, Ramaphosa, who we've been writing to, we've been calling to, that he must intervene and give the SABC a guarantee letter.
We need to go back as Parliament, the Speaker, as having received the letter from the President, we must go back and sit down and see what we do to strategize, because we cannot allow the SABC to fall down. You know, we cannot allow so many people employed by the broadcasters to staff. It is our duty and incumbent to all of us that the SABC serve the purpose.
We've received information that the board received legal advice that due to the financial condition of the SABC, if they keep on operating as directors, acting as directors, and the SABC operates in this manner where it's actually bankrupt, then they can be held personally liable for anything that goes wrong at the SABC.
Well, for more, including allegations of political interference, we're now joined by political analyst Professor Tefo Lesiba. A very good evening to you, Professor. We thank you very much for your time this evening. Of course, early on, unfortunately, we've lost the professor there. We will continue to give you, some of the details there, as well as the reaction. I believe we do have him back on the line. Professor, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Firstly, the EFF said on the SABC's Full View earlier tonight that the interim board had been set up to fail and that it was a board that could not be influenced like those under the Cloudy era. Do you agree?
Well, set to fail is something else, but I think the bona fides at the outset, I think, were not in doubt. But it's when they could not play ball in terms of being manipulated, or at least to behave in manners that are inimical toward men and women of integrity, understands a public broadcaster to be. I think it's then that the problem arose. But generally, I think they started well. They got adequate support. But with time, maybe, right, they were seen not to be serving the interests of those that think when election time comes, they would have to get the necessary support.
You know, the DA thinks that this is somewhat of a drive to exert influence and editorial interference ahead of elections. What is your opinion?
Well, look, after Polokwane, many people had to be gotten rid of, precisely because it is seen as almost a mouthpiece of the ruling party. And it gets itself caught up in the factional battles. And even its support sometimes is influenced by the factional battles that exist there. Because right now, the men and women who are in this board enjoy immense credibility in the community. For me, I think this is one of the best they could assemble. And they are patriots rather than party hacks. They are men and women who say the national flag and the constitution surpass at least party political loyalty and affiliation. However, now, when you get rid of those, I wonder what you are going to get and whether they are going to refrain from interfering with their mandate.
Well, continuing with the responses on that, the ANC has, in fact, denied the allegations of interference. But what's more important here is the fact that the president seems to have accepted the resignations with immediate effect and has somewhat been complacent on the issue. What is your view on that?
Yes, look, he started well, Tumamina, but I think he's beginning to falter. Not because he's incapable, but because of the so-called collective leadership and democratic centralism. Surely, even without being approached by the opposition, once he reads and he feels that he picks up the memos that there is discontent, especially by men and women of integrity, that I think board comprises the board, he should have stepped in. When the new minister is elected, and there is such a huge furor across the country that the first move is not what it should be. He should have stepped in. But I think he's constrained by the so-called alliance and party political centralism, where you have to consult everybody and anybody, even when you know is inimical to national interest or is contrary to what you believe to be the right thing. It's a pity, it's unfortunate, but that is what is likely to characterize Ramaphosa's presidency, unless he changes tack and begin to be decisive and intervene when and if and when it is necessary, and decisively so.
Thank you very much for your time this evening. That was political analyst Professor Tefo Lesiba.